Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Pod Stallions. I am Brian, and I'm not only the president of Para Club for Men, but I'm also a client. And with me, to my left, is Jason, who, to my chagrin, is not a client.
Because Maury's wigs don't come off.
I thought you were a theater wig man.
I do prefer the theater wig. I'm not going to lie. If it does happen, I'm going with the theater wig. Because I like how they fall,
Right.
They fall forward, kind of. That rock, as I call it, the Cliff Secord look.
Oh yes, absolutely.
The way those bangs fall. Well, it's nice to hear your voice
dreamy.
again. Here we go. We did say we'd do 2 in December, and by God, we brought it right up to.
We got right to the finish line.
Right to the finish line. Here we are. Never let it be said. We don't bring it in on time.
So, with that, and we will be launching this episode on New Year's Eve, we're going to do our best of right now, because I don't think anything that great is going to happen in between now and then that we have to reevaluate. Do you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
So we're going to do what we call the Retro Awards. We've been doing them for 8 years now.
Yeah.
I think I started the Retro Awards prior to that, but then we just basically moved it into the podcast when we started that. And it is just a celebration of film and television and music and books and things we're into and toys, of course. And I'll never forget the one bit of feedback we got from one of these episodes was Marvel fanboys. So
wait, what was the
I don't know. We just got like some really negative review that just said Marvel fanboys, and there was another weird one that said, "Look at these people trying to tell artists how to work," and it's like, what? Like I didn't even understand that one.
You know what's funny about that? Of anybody that does a podcast, of anyone that's out there giving opinions, we are the least. I would have done it differently. It would have been better.
Yeah.
We are literally the last 2 people that would say, what they should have done and what I would have preferred. We can give opinions, but we certainly aren't the armchair. I've been listening to one recently, and I won't name it, but it's good. Because you get a lot of film people and actors and directors on talking about their favorite things, this and this, and there's still this inherent need to say, it would have been great, but there's that one scene, and it's like, oh man, everybody has to do it. I don't think we really do that, So
I mean, I always look at it like if I don't have a better idea than they do, then what am I going to say? And I often don't have good ideas. So
that's true. I can vouch.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely true. No, but the idea that I can't. Sometimes you just want to accept things for what they are. You just want to go like, I liked this. It's fine. Not everything needs a deep, cutting analysis, in my opinion.
Yes. Yes.
But,
I agree. I'll certainly in person, spar with someone if they, appreciate something I don't. But I don't feel the need to broadcast it to anybody. But that's interesting. What the only 2 notes we got on the best of? That's interesting.
Yeah, no, those aren't the only 2 notes.
Okay.
Those are the only 2 negative notes, and I was just being sarcastic. There's tons of good feedback from this, and you can see it on the YouTube channel and in our Facebook group. I just remember, like, mainly because I didn't understand those negative, like, negative comments are usually criticisms, and you want to learn from them, but I didn't understand them. I didn't
Mhm.
understand what they were trying to even say. Because I don't count myself as a Marvel fanboy. I've liked some of their films. I don't like some of their films.
That's what I thought too. Like, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go there. Oh well. Well, we'll show them this year.
That's
All
right, Shakes Fist.
it's all
Um,
DC movies.
so what's that?
It's all DC movies this year.
I'm just doing all skiing films,
Oh,
skiing documentaries.
even better.
I've never skied in my life, but damn it, it's my passion. Yeah, so that's funny you bring that up. Our first category is favorite films of 2021, and I would like to hear your first one, Jason.
Well, now are we doing it in order? I forget how we do this, or just what is what
I
is.
don't really have an order. No,
Okay.
I did. Maybe we did at one time.
Well, I think it would be ridiculous of me to not start with this, especially, people have listened to the show and know what I'm into.
Oh, yeah, okay. I should have known this one.
Say my movie of the year is Dune, the new version of Dune. I was absolutely blown away by it. I'm of course biased because of the director, because of really digging everything he's done. But that's also what got me hopeful about it was like, yeah, it goes back to the Blade Runner thing we always talk about. Like, I didn't need another one, but as we got closer and more names got mentioned, that's when I went, oh, this could be really interesting. Only to be, very pleasantly surprised and really into it. The smartest thing he did was, say, I'm going to break it up into two films, and luckily we get another one.
Now, was that, sorry,
No,
I pay attention. I have one eye open, but was that not completely evident to people, or did a lot of people walk in thinking they were getting a complete film?
I think most people that I've talked to and most of the response that I've kind of seen, people didn't know that it was going to end the way that it did, that there was a second part. Anybody that sort of followed the production of it knew that it was only going to, bring it up so far. But I think your average Joe just kind of went, oh, because, I assume that the majority of people that went to see it, didn't necessarily read the book or really have reference for it or know it. And he did a wonderful job of making it accessible and making a really stunning achievement. It's just I would put it right next to 2049 as something that it's hard to think of movies that I always talk about Raiders of the Lost Ark as this. For me, it's like a near perfect film. Like The Godfather is like a perfect, like every scene, every moment, it's working on all cylinders and in moving the story forward. And both Blade Runner 2049 and Dune, the economy with the way he told these stories, not in an overabundance of dialogue, not in too much exposition, in assuming that the viewer is smart enough to be paying attention and knows that if a character looks across the room at a certain item that's over there and it should be near him, that spells trouble for what's about to happen. Just little things like that. And just beautifully done. And everybody in it I thought was just great. So that really knocked me out. I'm so glad that we're getting at least one more for this story.
That's nice. I have not seen it. As you know, I'm not the world's biggest Dune fan, but my wife's coworker is a humongous fan, raved about it, and made my wife watch it.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know when she watched it, but I've been kind of an absentee husband for the last 3 months. With the book and the magazine and all the other stuff going on in my life. And she liked it very much.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she, because she said, "Do you want to watch it with me?" I said, I'm okay. And she said, it's a bit slow. she said it was a decent film, and she really enjoyed it.
And she's right. It is not a, but that was, we've talked about the property itself, I think several times, doing the show. That was always one of the, beyond the imagination, beyond the density of the book and everything else. It's not a slam bang adventure. It's not a pulp adventure that moves quickly. It takes its time, and it establishes things. And so that was always the worry, I think, of how is this going to be accessible, because it takes
its time.
It
I get some of the concepts in it. I've told my Dune story actually in our Dune episode, where I had a friend who took me to it and then acted like I was a simpleton who could never figure out Dune,
Right.
And I understood the film very well, and I liked it. I just didn't think it was an ugly presentation,
But I'll say, here's the thing that's, and we've mentioned this before as well too, but versus the 84 one, because he had to cram so much in because it was one film for the book. This one, there are so many phrases and so much terminology and so many little things that don't even get a mention, that they just they tell the audience what this person is or what they do in a different way, with a line of dialogue or a quick look or whatever it is, and you go, oh, that's the guy who's a human computer or whatever. The things that you didn't need, that sort of dragged it down before because he felt like he had to get everything in.
Yeah.
So it is more accessible, and it's
good.
And
I do plan to watch it, but just on my own terms.
Yeah. I actually would be really curious to know what you would think of it, because the expectation is low, because it's not something you're not really into necessarily, but it could surprise you as a because it really is a tragedy. I mean, I don't say it's a tragedy, but it's it's not what people generally think the story is. It's much darker, and it's more
there's elements of that I really like, and but there's, like I said, it's not high on my list to see. But
hey, Timothy's dreaming. You know how much you like.
I get lost in those blue pools of his eyes, yes.
He
but if I knew who he was, I don't know. He was on Saturday Night Live once, and I was like, "Who's this kid?"
I have to say, he is very good. I just saw him recently in the French Dispatch too, and he's great. I can't wait to see what he does. But he's not just a pretty face. I think he's got some chops.
Well, no, that's good. I expected that to be on your top.
All right, give me yours.
Okay, well, I wanted you to go first because my first on this list is the Suicide Squad. I did not really think that the original Suicide Squad was all that great. I just thought it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I really could not get over how James Gunn made this so good, and made these characters that I don't give a crap about worth giving a crap about. And this film bombed, and it shouldn't have. It should have done as good as Captain Marvel, in my opinion, which I couldn't sit through. I think it lost under the weight of the DCU being so disappointing.
Did it bomb?
It was a financial disappointment, and it's the best DC movie I've seen in a long time. And that's pretty sad, because it doesn't have a single A-list character in it.
Right.
And but yeah, I think it's just that I like James Gunn. I like James Gunn's work a lot, and this was so much fun. I loved the interplay between Idris Elba's Bloodsport and John Cena, who I've always really liked. Like, My kid and I were talking about Schwarzenegger in comedies the other day, and we were watching. He was watching Jingle All the Way, and I was like, "Please turn that off," because it's horrible. Because Schwarzenegger has no comic timing, and he said, "Well, who would you remake this with?" And I was like, "Well, I guess John Cena, but John Cena is actually funny, so it wouldn't work."
He
Right?
is, here's my thing about John Cena. Like I think he's totally fun. He's great.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's like he's getting into this danger of, you're gonna get that same, kind of lunkhead, vibe, and like there was the one with the Amy Schumer one. I think he was in. Was that the one he was in? He was like the boyfriend or something, and just so and he's great in all of them. But what I loved about this was the thing that to me is like tailor made for
Mm-hmm.
like it was never too big, it was never too much, it was never he just owned it from the moment he sort of shows up and starts
Yeah,
talking.
he's a total, as my friend says, a penis the
Yeah,
entire film,
he
and
just delivered everything perfectly.
and
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to his spin-off series. Uh,
Yes. Too,
and
yeah.
who the hell would ever say, like, I can't believe, even though it's been a long time, I can't believe I'm saying, yeah, I can't wait to see that Peacemaker TV series where Judo Master makes an appearance. Like
Well, but
those aren't words I ever thought I'd issue.
isn't it kind of, I
Um,
feel like it's deja vu with Guardians of the Galaxy, in the sense that, yeah, people, plenty of comics people knew the characters, knew the title, but he came in and did something with it that, the mainstream, the people that didn't know who these characters were, completely embraced. And I feel like he was trying to, I think he was really trying to prove a point. Like what happened to him with Marvel, he turns
oh
around and
yeah, here, let me take the worst things ever.
yeah.
And, look what I did. And unfortunately, he didn't spin it into liquid gold, but that was a Blu-ray I ran out and bought
But it
because I
did,
loved it so much.
but it did get a lot of. I seem to recall everybody being pretty glowing about it. Like
It's a critical darling.
okay,
There's no and it should be. It's that good. And of
yeah.
course, you've got probably Margot Robbie's last performance as Harley Quinn.
Oh, that's a bummer. I didn't know that. She.
Yeah, and my God, does he treat that character well?
Oh,
In that
and
film.
it there's never pandering. Like you and I are in agreement on the other one too. The Birds of Prey one that
Yeah, we
we're like,
both loved it.
why does it hate this movie? It's not, it's a fun romp. It's ridiculous and it's hardcore. But yeah, they don't pander with that character either. Like and she's so good in it. She
Yeah,
just
no,
so good.
I love her, and
Freaking
yeah,
Capaldi,
Capaldi is great
Capaldi.
in it. Although
God.
he is really giving a Doctor Who speech in it, to the point of like, oh, I can see why they hired him. Uh, and
Yeah,
and
he's just he reminded me a little bit more of Malcolm Tucker, to be honest with you.
oh
He
yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah,
that acerbic.
yeah, absolutely, and he's great in it. I mean,
Yeah.
he's great in it, but there's nobody really giving a bad performance in the film. And I even like David Adji, but the is it David Adji or is
Is that
that
the polka
Steve
dot man?
Adji? Steve
Oh,
Adji, yeah. David
yeah,
Adji is a Canadian chef.
yeah. And the guy, the polka dot man, what's his name? He's
Oh,
who,
that guy was amazing. David
who
Deschum. David,
yeah,
yeah.
that man. I first thing I saw him in was actually a Denis film, which is called Prisoners, with
Oh, I've heard of Prisoners. Yeah.
Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. Great, great.
Wasn't that fellow also in Dune?
And he's also in Dune. That's right. And
Yeah.
he's got a small part in Blade Runner 2049. So he's become these big things have sort of gotten him, more notice. And I think he was in Ant-Man. He's he's the Russian guy and in
Right.
the gang.
Yeah, he's wonderful in that. And
Big nerd too, I guess. Uh, big nerd.
Well, we won't hold that against him. And I really loved Ratcatcher, the character of Ratcatcher and Ratcatcher 2. And it's just nice to see Taika Waititi in a film,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's just a little small. Hits the heartstrings. Yeah, just that was my favorite film of 2021. It's certainly one of my favorite superhero movies of all time.
Great
I
movie.
love
Great
it,
sound.
and just phenomenal soundtrack.
Yeah. Yeah. No, in fact, I didn't. I felt like when I had it on first, I did not give over to it completely. I don't know what was going on, but when I watched it a second time, that's when I really started to love it. Like, oh, this is much better than I remember the first viewing. I don't know what happened, but it's great. And I picked up the Blu-ray right.
Yeah, me too. I just had to have it, and I spent a Sunday afternoon uh, just absorbing the extras.
Yeah, me too.
Watched it
Me.
with commentary. Did everything. I just had to watch the whole thing.
What was I gonna say? Did you have like a retail exclusive?
No, I just went to Sunrise Records and bought it. I don't even remember if there was any sort of exclusives available.
I found like the last one at Target, and it's
What
like
was it?
it comes with like a set of art cards of the characters,
Oh,
and it's really nice. Like nice packaging where like the logo area is like cut out, like die cut when you put the movie in behind it, and um,
I feel
yeah,
shafted now.
I grabbed it. Yeah. Okay, that's a great
I'm
pick.
angry about that now.
In no order, I'll give my next one. I'm only doing list of three.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, this is a movie that I had seen a trailer for a while ago, and I like this director's work overall. Like I think just about everything he's done has been interesting and good. But I love going into something. You see the trailer, and you know sometimes you get a great trailer, and you go, can't wait to see this, and then you spend 2 hours with it, and you go, that was not what I thought this. It was not what I was hoping it was going to be, or it didn't go anywhere. It didn't wrap up. This one delivered. It's a horror film called Antlers. Direct
Oh, I've heard of that.
Scott Cooper, executive produced by Cooper and Guillermo del Toro.
Okay.
And Cooper did, Crazy Heart and Out of the Furnace and Hostiles. Like he's got a real eclectic body of work that he's done. But man, this thing was, I shouldn't say too much about it. It's just, it's dark. It's really dark. And it's got it's sort of an undercurrent of some social commentary on a particular aspect of America, of an area. And you think it's going along a certain way. And that's what I thought. I started going, oh, maybe this is more metaphor than actual horror. And then it starts taking these turns and it's like, holy shit. Kerry Russell is the lead. And what's his name?
Felicity?
Felicity is the lead. It's actually she's playing Felicity in the film. This
Oh,
is what
good. So she says she has her hair.
after working at the market. What's the guy I'm thinking? Oh, what's his name? He's married to or he's with
Eddie Deason.
Eddie Deason. Eddie Deason is the second lead, and this is sort of his comeback film.
Good, because he could use it.
Who's the guy? Kirsten Dunst, the guy she's with.
No.
Him. He's got like red hair. He's got a mustache in most things. Oh, come on. I can't believe I can't think of this. Very low key sort of actor. But he plays her brother in it. He's like the sheriff or the deputy or something. Great movie. I was really knocked out when the credits rolled. I was like, wow, that was something. Very cool visuals. So it was a nice surprise to
check that out.
Most horror that I've watched tends to sort of fizzle out. Like the one last year was the The Wolf of Snow Hollow, done by Jim Cummings, and I was raving about that because I love his work too. But and that was really doing a werewolf story and sort of turning it on its ear. And I was so impressed with it. Well, this thing, I watch a lot of horror, and it rarely do they pay off. Do you really get a satisfactory wrap up or explanation, or the third act kind of falls apart? I thought this was terrific, so I recommend it.
Oh, really good. I will check out Antlers.
Excellent.
I'm going to go to my next one, and sorry, I just had to take care of something there. Nobody was my next one.
Oh, that was great. I thought that was great.
Yeah, I saw a lot of films this year, and I really can't remember a lot of them. But Nobody, and I know it's built on that John Wick thing, but the casting of Bob Odenkirk, who I adore, I mean, I love Bob Odenkirk, as this kind of like, deadly CIA assassin. That's, like what is that? Like a telephone thing from, the old Bronson movies. It's just brilliant. It just really worked as a film. And you've got Christopher Lloyd, who everyone likes, and you've got RZA. I'm a big fan of RZA when he's in front of the camera. Not so much when he's behind it, but and yeah, I ate this film up with a spoon. I really did, and it would be my second favorite film of the year.
Nice. It was.
Yeah.
I kind of knew what it was going to be, sort of from the trailer, but it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, it was pretty apparent. Yeah.
It was executed really well, and he did. I think you and I are. We probably loved this guy for so long.
Oh my God, yeah.
Career for so long. It's like this is he's just great in it. It was
yeah,
a story that has been told before, but it doesn't matter. I can see one like that every year if it's done well. It doesn't matter. It's proof that you can there's only so many concepts out there, but if you do them well, I'll freaking turn up. I don't care. And he's just great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that film, and I hope to revisit it soon.
What's
your second one?
I believe I think I have the DVD actually of Nobody.
I don't yet, but I think I might pick it up.
It was on sale. Boy, I had a tough time with this because it's like, 3 movies. We got to pick 3, and like I've seen so much stuff this year, but I just went, wait a minute, why don't I just come out with it? And I'm gonna give my third one to Godzilla versus Kong.
You are?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
I thought about that a lot.
Like, you know what? Kong. I loved Skull Island, and I guess these are spoilers here.
We share that.
But this one, my fear, like, I can't take it in a movie when like bad things happen to animals. Like even.
Oh yeah.
Even like some monsters too. You just like, because I was always that kid too. It was like, why are they beating him? Like, why are they trying to kill this monster? Like, leave him alone. He just wants to. And so I really liked that Kong was handled the way he was, and I just thought it was pure madness. Like it really felt like it was trying to embrace the craziness of the original films with center of the earth and all these kinds of creatures and things, and he's a king and whatever. And it's like it was kind of bonkers, and that's one of the reasons I
think you're absolutely right. I share your opinion. I didn't put it on my list, but I didn't walk away hating it. I just was like, that was insane. Like that was little kid dumb.
Yes.
But I still kind of like was like, all right, let's just watch. Like sometimes you just want ice cream. And when I start to think about it, these are movies about giant dinosaurs that were played by guys, and they were always ridiculous. And they started very serious, and I really actually have enjoyed the Godzilla trilogy. But you're building something. The building blocks of it are, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't, you start to just begin to accept, God, like, didn't Godzilla blow a hole to the center of the earth?
Yeah.
And then Kong jumped down, and you're just sitting there like, all right, like, how is this dumber than Vin Diesel flying his car into outer space? I've never seen a Fast and the Furious movie, but I assume that happened.
Well, I think it opens with the guy, the character that's working at that company, like, oh, I saw some shit I shouldn't have seen. Then you get to the daughter from the previous one. Who, and then suddenly they go, well, we can use these vehicles. Oh, the ones that are top secret and that can get, like nobody knows how to do.
Godzilla movies are always dependent on the ground crew, and most Godzilla movies have terrible ground crews.
But here's the thing, and having even I got that what's his name, Gamera. The set that came out that
I love those. You get the remakes,
the ones from like the early 90s to mid 90s. Those,
yeah, I saw those in the theater. They were like, the audience was roaring.
Okay, so here's
they were so fun.
I love these kinds of the monster movies, the Godzilla movies, kind of the big kaiju type things. I love it. Even the stuff that I love from childhood. I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of this stuff is a slog for me because
hell yeah.
In a 90-minute movie, I'm really only getting about 12 minutes of a monster or two monsters doing their thing. Sometimes I don't mind. Sometimes it's cool just to look at the threads, and the cars and the craziness and the little fairies running around and stuff. But sometimes I just want to get to the monsters, and this thing delivered on both characters, if you will, both monsters.
You got your money's worth. Yeah, you absolutely did.
Finally, because even the King of the Monsters, which I think is very good.
I love it. Yeah.
There's the stuff with the mom, and there's the stuff with the thing and the thing. It's like when it comes to life, when Ghidra shows up, and when shit really kicks off. That's what I want to get to, and I feel like of any of them, besides Skull Island, which was setting things up, this one did a great job.
I love Skull Island.
Yeah. This one was just like, let's just go for it. Like, just monsters to the left, monsters to the right. Just
stuck in the middle with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I you know what, dude? I didn't want to include that, but it was close to being on my list.
There you go. It was crazy, but a good kind of crazy.
Sorry, I had my mute on. I was sneezing.
No worries. And I just love that version of Kong. I love his looks. I love his face.
Now he gives you empathy. You love him, and that was I will say this about the modern interpretations of Godzilla and King Kong. I don't want them to fight. I want them to love each other because I like both of them. That's
exactly.
I hate it when mommy and daddy fight.
There's that moment of just like, I feel like everyone should have seen this by now, but there's that moment of kind of like, okay, all right, okay, whatever, you win, whatever. And then, hey, let's team up, I just like, yeah, this is what I want, and
at the end of King of the Monsters, there's a part where all the monsters kneel at Godzilla.
Yeah.
And I remember in the theater, I was like, that's right, bitch.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, you're Neil. Better Neil.
Yeah. I love that about modern Godzilla, is that he appears to be just a complete badass. And
he's also slightly benevolent, where he can go, I don't need to rip your head off. I think I've proved my point. I think I've made I'm a giant badass, and
you've shown your belly. Therefore,
exactly. I feel like they got a handle on it. You know, I didn't
No,
love.
I do too. I really do. And I couldn't believe it was in your top three, but I will say it was like in my top six.
There you go.
So yeah. And my third one for this year would be a film that surprised me called Save Yourself. It is about a hipster couple.
Yes, I saw it. Yeah.
Who go away to a cabin and there's an alien invasion. And that's all I'm going to say about the film. I thought I was going to turn this off within. Like, I'd read a good review. Maybe it was the Terry Talks Movies guy. I can't remember who did it. But somebody praised it. And I said, this sounds like a movie my wife and I would love. My wife is a big science fiction fan.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat through the whole thing because the leads, despite being kind of like the annoying urban hipster types, were actually so likable. And the film had such a great buildup of, they're just so oblivious to this alien invasion.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense because they're in the middle of the woods. They've decided to turn their phones off,
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't believe how compelled I was to watch this film. It didn't end the way I liked it, but apparently it's going to spin off into a series now.
Well,
and
that makes sense because it's just like, I thought it was good. I thought there were some fun ideas. I liked the back and forth, the things. Then they start to annoy each other and little things.
Yeah.
Why didn't you do this? And why don't you go? And just the way they sort of, tackled the situation. But I feel like it kind of didn't quite know what it wanted to be because there are moments where it gets, very serious, like very dark, as with other characters, kind of like, things, happen. And then of course the finale, I just went, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, there better be an explanation for that finale. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but yeah, you do kind of sit there and scratch your head at the ending.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a fun journey regardless. And I hope there's a follow-up to it because I am actually interested in these characters.
Glad that that's a great, because that's a great, I think it was for first time director, maybe. I looked them up I thought it was very, assured.
And it's that kind of gentle humor that you see in stuff like What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes.
And I always like those kind of journeys, like you're just following these people and you're surprised as they are, and it just kind of worked for me. And
little movie, yeah. It's
the two leads are fantastic in it, and like I said, I was expecting some sort of Tim and Eric bullshit.
Yeah.
And Tim and Eric, by the way, showed up in an episode of Community my wife was watching the other day, and I was like, those guys are a big deal with people 15 years younger than us. That's all I could say, because she didn't know who they were.
Did you ever get into did you ever watch Search Party? Did you ever watch that show?
No, never heard of it.
Oh, you should try it. I think they did 3 series. I think it's up streaming somewhere. But that dude is the boyfriend / ex-boyfriend of the lead character in this series, Search Party. About these hipster Gen Zers, someone a friend of a friend of a friend kind of thing goes missing, and the lead character starts to get obsessed about it. It's very, very fun, very bitchy, very, very assertive. Really goes after the generation and being self-obsessed and whatever. But he's one of the leads in it, and he's also in Stranger Things. He's the part of the police force in Stranger Things, or he certainly was.
Okay.
Season 1 and 2, I think. So I like that dude. I can't think of his name, but I like him. I'm going to throw up an honorable mention that I wanted to mention because it's so I think people should look for it. There is a movie called The Show that came out a couple months ago streaming, and it is written by Alan Moore, and Alan Moore is in it. And
what?
He's
oh
also,
my God! Why there was a meeting and I wasn't
well,
invited?
Here's the thing. They did a series of shorts with some of the same cast and put them up on some website, a couple years ago. Like he's been trying to get this thing financed for years, and they finally came up with the, $3.5 million or whatever it is to do it.
Who wouldn't give Alan more money at this point? It's crazy.
Well, then like lockdown happened, and then they had some other issues.
Okay.
They filmed it all in Northampton, which is, where he's from and what he writes about a lot. But he said that the thing that was great about filming it there was, it's not great, it's sad, was that so many businesses had gone away or gone under, or like the city was just thrilled to have anything, going on there, and they were able to do this thing. Probably not many faces that anybody would recognize, but the lead actor is, now I can't think of his name. It's Tom something, but he's one of those faces that you'd recognize. Like he played Orson Welles in the Mank.
Tom Burke.
Tom Burke, yes, Tom Burke, great. He was in the British, the original version of what was that series about the comic book that the author that everybody.
Oh, that show. What the heck is the name of that show?
I don't think of it now, but he was in season 2.
Yeah, I know that show.
He's great, and he's the lead, and it's hard to even describe what this thing is, but he's going to this town to find answers about, there's magic involved, and it's very Alan Moore, like just when you see a bumper sticker go by or a poster in a window, like it's conceptually it's very Alan Moore, and it I think it kind of holds together, and I hope they get to make more of them. It kind of felt like reading one of his, America, what was it called? America something comics that he did. Whatever he did years later when he.
Yeah. No, I can't remember what that's called.
You can find it, and give it a try. And Moore shows up in it, in a supporting role. It's a very trippy supporting role.
I'm here.
Exactly.
So what is your third pick for best film of 2021?
Well, those were our three. We did Dune, and I did Antlers, and we did Godzilla versus Kong. My
gosh, I'm sorry, I just don't know how to count.
We're having so
all
much.
Right.
We got to go to the next category.
All right, the next category is television, and I don't watch a lot of this, but and I'm not sure if you do or not. But what was your number one TV show this year?
Well, TV show means so many different things now, where it's like.
Oh yeah, no,
so I thought of it in terms.
One of mine is YouTube right now.
Yeah, whatever's like a streaming thing or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's more of a mini series than a series, but
fine.
Anybody that knows me and has listened to the show probably knows the answer. Number one for me is the Beatles Get Back documentary.
I knew that was coming.
I've watched it twice. I'm halfway through my third viewing. It's just good. I clearly am biased, and they're, my religion, and I know so much about this band, and yet there are still layers to this thing that are really extraordinary. And I would say it's probably the best rock documentary ever, in the sense that there's nothing else that exists that shows the process, shows people of this sort of fame, and the biggest ever, to be in a room to see things sort of come to life. And there's also things that happen in it that are, if you had written them in a movie about a band that was on the rocks, kind of, they would seem cliched. Like there are so many little moments or little lines that are said that you go, God, if you wrote that in a script, someone would go, come on, that's pretty corny. Like, that didn't really happen. And, if you know enough about the story of the band at this time, where things were headed, where they had been, what each of them were going through at the time. But it's just, you really are a fly on the wall to see to see these people try to put something together. And I mean, Jackson took, I think he had 60 or 70 hours of footage, and then 120 hours of audio.
Good Lord.
Originally was going to be a feature, and then of course COVID, and then he started working on it as a miniseries, and then he presented it to Disney and the Beatles and said, I think it needs to be like three nights, so 6 hours, 2 hours a night. And they just went, oh, okay, yeah, sounds good, okay. And then he went back at it, and then he said that he was doing another edit that he thought was for DVD, for like an extended DVD release. And he started to do it, and Disney came to him, no, don't bother, we're not gonna. And he said, what? And they said, yeah, we don't really do much with the DVDs, we don't do like extended things, and I don't think there's not a lot of big market for that, so don't bother. But he went ahead and did it anyway. And so what you end up getting is an 8-hour documentary, because nobody knew until the day that it hit that it wasn't 2 hours. It was like 2 hours 20 minutes, the first one. The second one's like 2:40. So he went ahead and did an 8-hour version, submitted it. Nobody said anything, and we've got this 8-hour documentary now.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm happy for fans of the Beatles, and I've heard good things.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard from you about it, and I know you're hardcore, dude. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of magical stuff that even if I've read it in books or seen things or heard things, there's still these moments when it really happens and you're really hearing it or seeing it. It's incredible that they're still surprised, 50 years after they're done. It's great. So I love it. Yeah, that's my number one.
Yeah, I don't really have a number one, but one of the things that really surprised me this year is another docuseries called The Center Seat by Nacelle. And Nacelle is my publisher for Rack Toys, and they seem to have their hands in everything, but they were doing a Star Trek documentary series, and I gotta be honest with you, like, I've seen a lot of Star Trek documentaries. I've watched ones on stuff like Deep Space Nine, and I don't even like Deep Space Nine. So I kind of was sitting there like, what are they gonna do? But like, again, I was working on the book, and I like chatter while I'm laying out pages. I like to listen to things. Mm-hmm. So I put it on, and I binged it. I've actually just discovered while we were talking, I have a new episode that I haven't seen, and I'm excited to see it. This is a very different Star Trek documentary in that it does take, it kind of like excludes, like, Shatner and Nimoy, although they're quoted and that sort of thing, but it's really talking to the people who worked on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta tell you, dude, like, the episodes revolving around like the motion picture are hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a dude who wrote the motion picture. He's a very accomplished writer. He hated Roddenberry. He wanted to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And Roddenberry is not portrayed very well here. It's portrayed as very real. Like, Roddenberry had addiction issues, he had control issues, and also sympathetically, he had been really screwed by Paramount.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting what happens. And of course, if you've ever seen that one about the problems on the bridge, that one about the Shatner did it. It was a good documentary about the creation of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I know of it. I don't think I've seen
Chaos on the Bridge. It's excellent. You should check it out.
Okay.
This kind of gives a different side to that story, where Roddenberry's attorney drove everyone crazy. Like, where David Gerrold wanted to kill him, DC Fontana wanted to kill him, and he was a real creep. But that attorney was the reason that Roddenberry ever got any money from Paramount.
Mm.
Like, he had been really royally effed by Paramount.
Mhm.
And there's a story in this episode of the center seat where he's playing. He hadn't gotten any money from Star Trek. He was a 20% owner of it, and I think Shatner was an owner of it. And they hadn't gotten any money, and Roddenberry was just playing golf with a Paramount lawyer, and that guy just whispered to Roddenberry, "Yeah, you're probably actually worth $30 million." And that's you kind of begin to understand their motivations. So excellent series
Oh
from
wow, okay.
folks at
I love
Missile.
that 'cause motion picture stuff. I think you love the movie a little more than I do, but I love the behind the scenes of.
Oh, no, 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 no. I think we're in the same place. I like the movie. I understand what they're trying to do.
I think
But
knowing the madness surrounding it only makes you appreciate it more. What
yeah,
that
no, no,
was.
no. And actually I learned a lot from this documentary, so I would highly recommend.
Okay, I will check that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, no, that is a great show. So what is your next TV pick?
My next TV pick probably won't surprise anyone once again, but I'm absolutely in love with this series. It is the new series of Inside Number 9, season 6, or series 6.
I have still only ever seen one episode of that,
I'm
and it was good.
still that you haven't gone for it at this point. I can even give you a list of 3 to try because I keep saying this and I'm going to stand by it. It is the most consistent / best anthology series since the original Twilight Zone. And I've seen a million anthology series, but they really, really go out of their way to try and do something different each time they push the boat out for a new episode. The opening episode for the new series is a slight riff on Reservoir Dogs, but it's done. It's an homage to pantomime, the Commedia dell'arte with the masks, and pantomime, which is so like Puss in Boots and the stuff that John Nathan Turner loved, where the kids would yell back at the screen. So the characters in the piece occasionally, turn to the camera to say things that another character doesn't hear, or then turn back, and then lots of puns, lots of plays on words, just like if there isn't a pantomime. But I mean, and it's a caper. It's a caper thing about a jewel heist, and it's in 25 minutes of screen time. They're putting all this into it. Steve Pemberton and Reece Shearsmith, from League of Gentlemen, are the ones who created it and star in it.
I love that show.
They play a different character in each one. They're not just writing this stuff. They're playing characters in them. And there's one episode that is one of the best riffs on. It's basically a man who creates a let's say Deep Space Nine or Stargate type series or something. And as the show opens, clearly something has happened somewhere, and he comes into his home and is trying to clean up blood on his shirt or whatever. And this Uber fan comes to him and says, "Look, I saw what happened tonight," and he lets him in. And he starts to critique everything that this creator's done wrong with the finale of the science fiction show. And it's brilliant because it's also them commenting on the fan base of the show that is online, always saying, "Well, that's not as good as it was last season." And it's there's so many layers to each one of these, and some are even the misses, I would say, are pretty brilliant. But it's every season you're ready to get 6 stories that are completely different than each other.
So it's just 6 episodes per season?
It's just 6 episodes per series. So, and that's why I said
I got to figure out where I found that again, because I don't know if I still have that service.
I think for a while it was on HBO Max, and then I think they're all on BritBox, if that exists.
Mm-hmm. Neither of those exist in Canada. But I will try and track that down again.
Very
one of the biggest problems I have is that my wife isn't that into British programming as I am. I was raised on it, and she, I forget what I tried to put on some Mitchell and Webb the other day.
Oh yeah.
And she's like, I'm not into this. Like, I don't find this as funny as you do. And that kind of killed that. You know,
Their sketch with the two
it's a
Nazis.
cultural problem. You've got to
Do you know their sketch with
marry a French woman.
with with the two Nazis and David Mitchell comes up to the guy and said, I just got to ask you, I've been thinking about it. Are we the baddies?
Yeah, I love that bit. Yeah.
What do you mean? Well, look at this. It's a skull. Look at my
Yeah.
pin. Are you sure we're not the baddies? Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, what's your number 2? Number 2?
Number 2 is British. It is a show called, and it is on YouTube, but it is a professionally filmed television show. It is as good as anything can be. It is a show called Toy Shop on Tour.
Okay.
And this is two gentlemen by the name of Gavin and Joe.
Oh,
who
yeah.
run a shop in Leicester, England. And they decided to tour all of the toy shops in the UK and like the vintage toy shops in the UK and buy things. And I really enjoyed it. It came on Sunday mornings here, and it was like my ritual. I would grab a cup of coffee, play with the dog, and watch this show. And I've watched shows like Toy Hunter before and things like that. But the beauty of this one was the two leads, Gavin and Joe, are just very likable human beings. And even though they're dealers, they're trying to buy from these shops so they can flip stuff, but they're also buying things for themselves. And just the eye candy of the UK shops and their joy, like, they're amusing. And the two characters are actually quite likable human beings. This was my favorite program for the entire summer, and I was really sorry to see it end.
Are they not doing it anymore?
No, it was a limited series. They still do other stuff on there, like where they talk about their toy shops. But the thing I liked about it was that, it was that salty and sweet. Like, there's points where they're obviously trying to haggle for things they want to buy for the shop. Mm-hmm. And then there's other points where they're trying to haggle for things they just want for themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that, that yin and yang was missing in a lot of American kind of flipper TV shows, like where,
you sent me a link. You either sent me a link or you posted something, and I watched it, and I was so turned on by these two guys, by their demeanor. Mm-hmm. And the way they talk about stuff, and just those great little moments of like, hey, what's in that box up there? And then the guy pulls the box down, and it's like, Action Man kits or something. It's like, oh,
I sent that to you because one of the guys went on about Biff Bang Pow. And
I couldn't find that clip.
I swear there's an episode, and I do want to rewatch the show, but there's an episode where the guy actually talks about one of your items, and I was like, oh my God, like,
hey, then I got to see that, because that wasn't the
one worlds collide. Here's a guy actually mentioning your stuff.
Oh, that's
and great. And of course it's a show I enjoy, and like I said, I enjoyed shows like Toy Hunter, but they were formulaic in the fact that it always had to be about the money. Right. And these guys, no doubt these guys are going to make money, but I also believe that if somebody walked into their shop from these other shops, they would give them a deal. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it just had that kind of like toy love to it.
Yeah,
I heartily applaud that show. And if you haven't watched it, watch every episode right now.
Yeah, it was very their vibe with each other is great. Their knowledge is great. Their excitement. One of them, the one I saw, was a guy found I don't think it wasn't like Mr. Blobby from the Noel Edmonds thing. What the hell was it? It was some puzzle of some character. But it was
like some just weird obscure character.
Yeah, I don't know, it was like Naughty or somebody or I can't. But it was a complete puzzle, and he was just so thrilled to find this
I
thing.
love Naughty.
I also feel like when I see stuff like that, it reminds me of the UK, like the shops that I used to go to when I'd go over there that I would find, or just like a different time, because there's nothing like that in Los Angeles. Like there's a couple of comic shops, but if you want to, I mean, the way they go around, town to town and just, oh, here's a little antique, oh, here's a collectible. There's nothing like that exists anymore. There used to be 20 years ago. There was quite a few.
It's the rents.
It just
it's
yeah.
the rents.
And like you say, they certainly have a vibe. That they're going to flip something, but that's not the point of the show. The point of the show is the journey, and they don't get hung up on. I love the haggling too, because
me too. Especially because it's so British.
Yeah.
And the way they kind of argue is so polite. It's fun. I really had fun with the whole thing. And I really heartily recommend that. It was a nice punch in the arm of positivity around toy collecting.
Yeah, I thought I got to see more of it. Because I think you sent me that one, so I got to see more.
Oh yeah, fun show.
Okay, so my number 3, I think we might have this in common, is Doom Patrol. Again.
Damn it, that is my number 3.
Just love it. I love what it does. I love the, it sometimes gets a little. This season was. I think
I'm not all the way through this season, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna say.
Don't spoil anything.
Some of the concepts, I feel maybe went on a little too long, but they still are. You got to go. No one's doing this. Like no one's this creative or this insane in a show.
Thank you.
And fucking Brendan Fraser, man. I realize it's voice. The bulk of it is voice work, but that is acting. That is acting at the highest level. What he's doing in this show, and I think it's like the best thing he's ever done. He's so good at it.
I love Brendan Fraser, so that makes me really happy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's it's a crazy show, and I think I can't think of some of their names, but the whole cast, but what's her name and what's her name? The two women.
The lady playing Crazy Jane and the woman playing I think her name was Bowlby, April Bowlby playing.
Bowlby is amazing. Like just the rhythm of her voice, what she's found in Rita, the way she's decided to present her and play her in the way she speaks. It's just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And Jane is she's just goes from strength.
Star of the show. She's fantastic. I love her.
And still one of the best themes and one of the best opening credits.
And adding Michelle Gomez to the show.
Yeah.
I mean, I had chef's kiss. I love Doom Patrol. So that moves us out of television because we are in 100% agreement with that. And let's go to music. I only have 2 albums this year that I can talk about, but if you have more, that is cool. What is your top album of the year?
Well, again, I'm very biased. I should probably give something else on this list number 1, but I'm a loyalist, so I have to. It's an album. Paul Weller, who's one of my musical heroes.
He's RoboCop.
Yeah, he had set a date to do a couple of shows with the BBC Symphony Orchestra to sort of I forget if he did a thing a couple years ago. They did a tribute to Quincy Jones, and he showed up and sang on Days Like These from the Italian.
Wonderful.
With an orchestra. And so somewhere the idea popped up, like, well, let's, he's got a catalog of songs from the Jam, the Style Council, and then 30 years being solo, and there's a lot of material. Anyway, he worked with the musical arranger guy, and they were going to put on the show, and then it got canceled because of COVID. So they ended up doing it a little while later with just a handful of people there, and there's no clapping throughout this thing, but it's sort of rearranging this, a lot of it, not a lot, 12 or 13 songs out of this massive catalog in a different way with this orchestra, and it's just gorgeous. And Boy George shows up, who he's known since the early '80s. Does a duet, and there's a couple other guests, but it's really nice. It's very much like a film soundtrack. It reminds me of like a John Barry score, kind of, because it's
wow, John, that's high
no
praise.
there's no drums, so Paul Weller's there either on piano or guitar. There's another guitarist, and then it's all this orchestra, changing these songs, and it's just wonderful. It just came out, I think, about a month ago. It was a great way to round out the year for me to get something else from him.
That's nice.
Yeah. What about you? What's your number one?
My number one is an album you suggested to me, Matt Berry's Blue Elephant.
Oh, yeah.
I am I love Matt Berry's music. In fact, I think it made my top of 2020. A lot of his songs. My kids never want to hear Medicine again. But this record is so freaking, like, I couldn't believe how much I fell in love with it day one. Like, you posted about it, and I was like, what? Put it on, loved it, and it's been in my regular rotation quite a bit since then. Not much to say about it other than it's very chill, it's very good. Barry is an extremely talented musician, and I love it.
It's very, as I think I said I think maybe we talked about it over the phone or on I don't know when I posted it, but it's to me, it's a culmination of all of his stuff, kind of. It's all coming to a head on this record, I feel. Like the TV themes one was great because it was just bonkers, and he had to write some of these. They couldn't find like sheet music or anything or any notes for these theme tunes that he wanted to do, and so they had to start from scratch. But this one is like all this stuff that he's into is all thrown into this record to me, and it's very kind of psych rock and kind of a little bit of soul and just weirdness and movie soundtrack and acid jazz, and it's great. I actually got it for Alex and sent it to him as a surprise a couple months ago, and he flipped. He's just played it nonstop. Well, on that note, that was your number one? Is that what you just did, number one?
Oh,
Hello?
sorry. Yeah, my mic died out.
No,
I only have two records I want to talk about this year. That was my number one.
So you just did, okay, so I did one, then you just did one, so we're
Mm-hmm.
now me. Okay. Well, on that note, and this is something I might have told you about before, but I think you'd probably dig this. Okay. The album is called De Película, DE and then Pelicula. And it's this kind of garage psych rock band called Limianas. And this DJ, is it Laurent Garnier, I think his name is? He's been around forever. And they did this record together called De Película, and it's like a freaking, like a Vanishing Point type movie, a soundtrack waiting for a movie, kind of. And it's each track goes on about 7 minutes, just kind of freak out rock. You could hear it playing at a club too. Like they did one animated video for one of the tunes, and it's just got this propulsive beat, and some vocals in Spanish, and but it's really something. Like since I got it came out in September, and there's not a week that I haven't put it on a couple of times.
That's cool.
It's great. Yeah, you might get a kick out of it.
Oh no, I'll check that out.
And then, so what's your other one?
Oh, that's my turn to talk. Sleaford Mods put out a record this year called Spare Ribs. I think my daughter describes it as angry British men talking. and that I like that sort of thing, and I think she's right. Um, I'm being schooled on all things music by my 16-year-old, who I have raised right. And yeah, I really do dig the Sleaford Mods, and they have a couple of tunes on this record that are just fantastic. And yeah, they're speaking to the generation they should be. And recently, the lead singer of the Sleaford Mods appeared on a TV show called
Yeah, I saw
was it
it.
Gardeners? I think that was called, or what's it
It,
called? I can't.
it's shit because I was going to talk about the show, but it's not
Yeah,
done yet.
Olivia Colman's on it, and
David Thewlis, and
David Thewlis.
it's so good. It's so
It's
good.
really good. It's really
Land,
crazy.
landscape,
And
landscapers,
landscapers, yeah. And
landscapers.
I just looked at that and went, yeah, he's going to be an actor
Well,
because he's so perfect as that guy.
yeah, he showed up, and I'm watching it, going, is that Jim? Is that the guy from Sleaford Mods? It can't be. It's not him.
Mm.
You know, and then I looked it up a day or two later, somewhere on social media, they were talking about it.
Yeah.
But that's a great show too. That is a really interesting presentation. The way they've, you know,
Yeah, I kind of dug it. Again, I have to, I don't always get to watch, I watch that stuff by myself sometimes. So, and I'll present it to the wife
yeah,
for viewing on the main screen.
Yeah, I think it's only like 4 or 5. I think they've only had 3 episodes.
It looks really, really good. Yeah, I've only watched the one episode, but I really enjoyed it, and I was intrigued.
The wall every now and then, where suddenly they're talking to the camera, or they move across a sound stage, and you're like going, "Wait a minute, this is a flashback, but we're going to walk with you to the sound stage and set up another."
Yeah,
scene.
no, I dig that. That breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah. Okay, my other one is the new Wes Anderson film, The French Dispatch, is wonderful. And
the soundtrack?
It's not quite the soundtrack. They have a Jarvis Cocker covered, I think, 1 or 2 sort of French pop songs from the late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah, Jarvis Cocker's the lead singer of Pulp, right?
Yes. Pulp are no more, but he did stuff for Fantastic Mr. Fox. He's put out several solo records. But there's a character in the movie called Tip Top. Like, it's like he's supposed to be like, a Jacques Dutronc or a Serge Gainsbourg kind of we don't see him, but he's mentioned in this segment with Timothy Chalamet and Frances McDormand and stuff. And then you see the cover of the album at one point, and it's clearly Jarvis Cocker, and it's been painted. So this album is a tie-in to the film, kind of as if this Tip Top. So Jarvis just covered a bunch of French, pop songs, sort of from that era. And so it's separate from the actual soundtrack of French Dispatch. And, it's wonderful because he was halfway there anyway with a lot of his music and his songs and his vibe. And it's, if you like that sort of thing, it's a terrific record. Oh, and it's called Chanson d'Ennui. I think the town is called Ennui, something in the film. And then it's, songs of, ennui, I guess. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Interesting. I'll have to check that out. It sounds like something I might enjoy.
Yeah, I think so. What's your next category?
Toys.
Oh boy, you go first on this one.
All right. My number one thing would have to be Mego, Planet of the Apes, and Hammer monster figures. Talk about wish fulfillment. They started out a little shaky on the apes because they wanted to do, they did some repros, and I understand the idea behind just doing like, Cornelius and Dr. Zaius when you're starting, because there's a lot of people out there who want a Cornelius and Dr. Zaius. But I was really kind of, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do after that? And they did not disappoint. They did Caesar and General Ursus. I've always wanted a Caesar action figure, and now I'm holding the Soldier Ape they did. It's awesome. And the Hammer stuff, I mean, that's just an undiscovered country. Everyone's always wanted the Hammer license. I've always wanted Mego Hammer figures, and they blew me away this year. They did a Cushing, they did the Reptile, and I'm actually doing the review of the Curse of Frankenstein as we speak. It's uploading to YouTube while we're doing this show. And yeah, just childhood wish fulfillment. Hammer films gave me nightmares as a kid, and they were also my first horror movies. So magical for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things that happened so fast that I just was sort of catching my breath of like, really? Are they really? Hammer's really going to happen finally after all?
Yeah.
Because all there was.
It's like Batman 66.
Yeah, I think all we had was the Christopher Lee 12-inch that product.
Yeah, somebody could always fart out a Dracula, and that was it. And I think somebody made a Cushing and Lee set of busts, and that was it.
I think that might have been Product Enterprise too, didn't? Because they did 12-inch. They might have done the busts as well. But like in a very short amount of time, they've done Dracula, they've done Cushing, they did the Reptile, they did the Zombie from Plague of the Zombies, and there's one I'm missing. Isn't there a fifth one they did? Hammer?
Could be, yeah.
I think there was like a.
Oh, Mego?
Yeah, wasn't there a fifth Hammer?
Mego has announced. There's 4 figures right now out there. There's the Cushing, there's the Dracula, there's the Frankenstein, there's the Reptile, and then through the Topps deal, which we were talking about prior, they offered the Phantom of the Opera, the Herbert Lom Phantom of the Opera.
There you go. That's it.
Plague of the Zombies. They offered the Gorgon, but unfortunately the Gorgon will not be happening. And they offered the Christopher Lee Mummy.
Okay, so I saw the Mummy. I need the Mummy and I need the Frankenstein for sure.
Yeah.
But I haven't been able to find them. There's no rush, but
the Frankenstein just came out.
Okay, I really need that. Because it's just like, yeah, keep it going. If they can, oh my God, if the mind bog, like what if they did like freaking Quatermass, like
or on the buses.
Well, yeah, that's just, you talk about a moneymaker. You get
yeah, by God, just line up for those nickels.
Action figure higher.
But yeah, my friend Sean sculpted the Curse of Frankenstein, and the wonderful thing about that is, for me, is Sean and I used to go to horror conventions when we were in our 20s, and one of the horror conventions we went to was the Chiller Theater in New York City or New Jersey, and one of the things I picked up was a custom 12-inch Curse of Frankenstein that a guy had made, with resin and paint and all that. And I remember like being in awe of this action figure, thinking like, this is the best it's ever going to get. We're never going to get an action figure of Curse of Frankenstein. And not only was I wrong about that, thankfully, but the guy in the car with me is the one who made, who sculpted the figure. So
okay.
That's kind of awesome, like it's like fandom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's very cool. It's all right. You live long enough.
You become the villain.
You become the villain. I didn't, it's tough to do this because there's so many little fiddly bits that, I might pick up throughout the year, or, pick up at Amoeba, like a trade-in thing, like, oh, look, I've got a little Iron Giant figure or something. But I think about things that are just kind of fun or different, or there's just, an imagination to them. And there's a line of toys that Hasbro does for Star Wars that are called action. There are these little, like 2-inch tall figures, with little accessories and stuff, but they have these, it's not like super deformed, but they're kind of to scale with the little figures of like, a TIE fighter, like Darth Vader with the TIE fighter, and there's an X-Wing, and there's a Millennium Falcon, and whatever. Anyway, they made a Razor Crest from The Mandalorian. that is so fun. It is such, it's you get little Mandalorian, a little Grogu, like tiny little figures, and
I've actually seen that set. I thought it looked great.
it's just like at one point you there's a little section inside the ship that it comes with like 6 little weapons, and there's a little wall inside the ship that has little outlines of each weapon that you can just stick onto the wall like it's this little armory inside the ship. Just little details like that I think are so great and just fun for this kind of, I know that Hasbro ended up making or they got enough orders to make like a giant coffee table size ship or something that was like $500, but like, this is cool. I love the design of that ship, and it's just like a little miniature version of a larger toy kind of. And I thought the imagination was really, I think it's a fun line altogether. Like they seem to be having fun with their choices of little characters, or little speeder bikes and things like that, and they're half the size of the big ones that they would do. So I thought that was really fun. I had fun with that.
Yeah, I was tempted by that set.
Oh, there you go. Well,
yeah,
it's fun.
But I don't buy modern toys, but I really like the Mandalorian, so yeah. My next one would be Super 7 did 2 figures this year that I think are just magical, and that is they shrunk down the Mattel Godzilla, and they shrunk down the AHI Azrak Hamway Creature from the Black Lagoon figures and made them 3 3/4 inch figures. The Godzilla I actually bought like 2 of, because one came in a box and one came on a card, and I have no problem ripping one off the card. And it's just perfect. It's just a wonderful representation, a tribute to the Mattel Godzilla. The tongue flicks, it's got little wheels, it's wonderful. Mm-hmm. And the creature, I bought on principle because I have been told that Toy Ventures issue number 1 kind of inspired it. The folks at Super 7 actually bought the first few issues of Toy Ventures, and I had heard through a friend of a friend that they were very interested in doing AHI versions of their character, of their, they have the Monster license, and they wanted to do AHI card backs. And this friend said, yeah, your magazine totally inspired them. They're going to do that. And I expected just to see like, Dracula and Frankenstein, that sort of thing on AHI type card backs. But instead they had actually gone crazy and made the 2 different versions of the creatures that AHI did. And the reason I know that I had some level of influence is that the original collector nomenclature for that was female and male creature, which was stupid. And when we were writing issue 1, the group of us went, that's dumb. What do you want to really call it? Because there's no female creature. And we came up with thin waist. No, I'm not sure. We came up with thin waist and wide waist creature, and we used that in the nomenclature of the magazine, and that is what Super 7 was selling. And thank you, Super 7, for that validation. That's wonderful.
I smell a lawsuit, frankly.
Yeah, what am I going to get?
That's your copyrighted description. Someone's going to greenlight a series, and you're not going to get a dime. You're going to be like Roddenberry.
Yeah.
You're going to get nothing for the thin-waisted creature series.
Well, I will get a massive heart attack from my smoking.
That's very cool. I don't think I knew about the AHI stuff.
Yeah.
But I knew about the Godzilla. That's very cool.
I love that Godzilla.
Let's see. My other one is, well, I have 2 other ones, but one is, I thought, again, the whole modern, like, Marvel Legends and, the Star Wars Black, if it's something like, a really cool, like a new Han Solo or something, or like, Lando or something, I'll probably pick it up. But I don't, as a rule, get all those things, and I don't really collect that much anymore, and don't have the inclination or the space or the bread. But every now and then something comes out, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I think these Fantastic Four figures that Marvel Legends size, but on card backs that were Target exclusives. I believe they were Target exclusives. Riffing on the packaging for the Fantastic Four animated series from 95 or 96.
Yeah.
But the design is very comic book. It's not.
Yeah.
They're not really trying to, do a duplicate of the animated series and what those figures looked like. And they're really nice. They're really nicely done. The thing is huge. And they just, they've done the Fantastic Four a couple of times in different, modern outfits. And they made a Doctor Doom as well, which I think was a Walmart exclusive, maybe. But they're really nicely done. They're very much like right out of a comic book from, the late 70s, kind of.
Yeah, I just couldn't get past that we're going to nostalgia from the early 90s. I'm not nostalgic for the early 90s.
No, but the sad thing is, like, who said something the other day was it a podcast or somebody said, oh, it was Shane Black being interviewed for something, and somebody said, I really dig, I think the Last Action Hero gets too much, much maligned, but and he said someone else is like, yeah, but the original script that you wrote was fantastic, but it got diluted. And he goes, it's funny. I've been in this business long enough where you live long enough and you see things that didn't do well at the time come around and build an audience. And so, like, he mentioned Monster Squad, which he co-wrote, and Last Action Hero, and these things that just sort of went nowhere at the time. People coming around going, oh, that's actually my favorite Schwarzenegger film is Last Action Hero. Well, someone's nostalgic for, we've lived long enough where this stuff is going to come around, because, it's sadly.
I'm not saying that people shouldn't be nostalgic for the 90s Fantastic Four cartoon. It wasn't terrible. It's just like, oh God, is that where we're at?
But that's the beauty of it. What I like about it is, unless you really knew what these things, like what that line was or that show was back then, your brain wouldn't go to, oh, look, they're redoing the packaging for the animated thing. Like, if your average Joe walked down the aisle, it just looks like a very cool Fantastic Four action figure line. Like, they have their own action figure line. Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't.
I get you. I really do. It does have it's still faithful to the comics. Yeah, I do agree.
Yeah, it just looks like, oh, look, they did somebody's doing a Fantastic Four line or whatever. It just seems like it's its own thing. Whereas the Spider-Man ones that they did, you're definitely riffing on that show. This seems like it's its own thing, and the figures are great. So I may have gotten more than a couple of those figures, and I probably shouldn't have.
Oh, I hope you're ashamed of yourself.
I am very ashamed of myself every day. I live in shame. What's your next one, or do you have two or three?
I have three. Count Chocula and Frankenberry by Jay the Toys. This is a very unusual purchase for me, but I vote with my dollar, Jason, and they made these crazy action figures of Frankenberry and Count Chocula. They come in little cereal boxes. I don't need these, but I needed to have them, and I voted with my dollar, hoping that Boo Berry would just be around the corner. I don't know. We'll find out together.
Are these the ones that are they sort of die cast? Are there die cast parts or something?
No, they're just they look. I haven't actually taken the darn thing out of the package. I don't even know why I bought these. They just kind of looked fun.
Like how tall are they?
About 6 inches tall, I'd say.
Okay, so maybe
which I don't even like that scale. I actually despise that scale.
But they're like posable. They have a lot of posability, and right? Isn't that the ones?
No. Oh yeah, there's some knee and elbow, and
Yeah,
there's an
that's
interchangeable head, and there's a box of Frankenberry, which is very meta. Um, yeah, I just needed, and on the back of the box they show, Yummy Mummy and Fruit Brute and Blueberry, and I honestly can't believe I supported this line without Blueberry, but um,
but if
they're pretty cool.
you vote with your dollar, then you're probably
Yeah.
gonna it's gonna pay off because you're gonna get it eventually, I
And
guess.
then what do I do? Uh, is is that when happiness comes?
That's when yeah, you've peaked. You
You
end up
got a third toy, or are we moving on to books?
well, it's not so much a toy, but a fun thing that I splurged on because I wanted to give myself a Christmas present.
Treat
Um,
yourself.
I think it's like a little, mom and pop type business that managed to get the Beatles license, God knows how. But they have these things called magnetiles, and it's like a little box of graphic colored tiles, different shapes that have these little magnets in the pieces themselves, and you can build like a three-dimensional version of the Yellow Submarine or the Magical Mystery Tour bus or a turntable with a Beatles album on it, or a little wall of album covers. It's just a fun thing that is kind of boutiquey, and you don't see a lot of new toyish kind of merchandise for them. So I treated myself, and it's really, really nicely done. Very heavy. It's a heavy box, and the designs are great. And that's my one gift to myself. Really,
Very nice.
I think I've earned it. Yeah. So that's something a little different.
You
What's
have earned it.
next? We have was it books? Is that next?
Yes, that's books.
All right, hit me.
All right. My number one is After It Ends, which is a post-apocalyptic book. Or is it After It All Ends? Now I have to look it up. Uh, it's a book devoted to 80s post-apocalyptic cinema, which of course I am obsessed with, have been since I was a kid, and it's excellent. I just cannot go on enough about this. It picks up on stuff I've never heard of. It gives critiques, and it actually tells you to reevaluate some of the preconceived notions you've had. So it's got all these Italian films, and well, honestly, it's been a fantastic read for me.
Do they cover Threads?
Yes, they do.
Still,
And it
still
scares the shit out of you.
scares the crap out of me. And one of the
I put on Threads for my wife about a year ago, or probably 4 or 5 years ago, because she'd never heard of it. And she's like, I want to see this. And then she made me turn it off.
Do you remember? Okay, so when the day after happened, at least here, it was
Yeah.
a TV event of the, and at schools they were handing out pamphlet thing, like class, this thing is happening on Sunday night, everyone needs to watch it, and we need to come back on Monday and all talk about it, make sure you're not too freaked out, and any questions.
And Threads was like, hold my beer.
So yeah, like Threads was like, I want to say maybe 6-8 months after the day after.
Yeah.
And I remember the warning. I remember it was going to be on the local channel that ran the syndicated stuff and the reruns and stuff, and the like head of the channel at that point came on and said, just FYI, this is a pretty graphic.
You're gonna poop in your pants.
Yeah, you might want to take a break. And I'm like, well, whatever, let's get to it, apocalypse, And I mean, I'd like any kid, I suppose I was a little scared of, maybe someone's going to hit the button. Like we all have that kind of paranoia. But you remember that there was like an SCTV sketch where the kid like asks to have a scary story read at night, and it's either Ramus or, and then when you pull back, the kid's sitting there with like his hair's gone white and it's sticking
Oh
up.
shit, I scared him to death. Yeah. I think that's a
That would
Joe Flaherty.
that would have been
Yeah.
me. That would have been me if like
Yeah.
turn the TV on, the camera swings around to the front and gets me, full on the front, and I'm just white and I've gone completely, completely dead because I mean, I watched the whole thing, but it really scarred me because it wasn't
Oh.
just the elements. It was this female character that you follow, and then her child, and then what eventually, you know what I mean? It
Oh
was.
yeah, no, it's
Oh,
dismal. It is so unhappy. It's not happy before the bomb hits.
no.
And yeah, it's so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad it's in the book. That's good.
Yeah, it's definitely in the book. It's not my favorite chapter. What's your
Oh,
first favorite book?
probably haven't even finished that chapter yet. It's too scary.
Yeah,
Um, I'm going to give my first, which is, well, it's called The Insider's Guide to Inside Number Nine.
What's
You know,
that about?
it is a bit of a phenomenon, this show, over there. It's not in the sense of like merchandise or whatever, but it has become this big show that people are lining up to get on, which reminds me very much of Twilight Zone, where people wanted to be on this show. And there's very little ancillary stuff out for it. There was some script books, an edition that Waterstones did that was signed by the two guys that I have. But this is the first sort of making of kind of book that's come out for it, and it goes up through the first five series. So I've just started to kind of delve into it. I got it from Waterstones. I had to order it from the UK. I think it's coming out in America in the next few months. But it's great because it just gives you some background on each one of these and little bits of notes from their scripts or their notebooks and where ideas have come from and stuff. So that's one of mine.
Okay. My next one, if I can find this, is When Dracula Met Frankenstein, which is by Sam Sherman, who was one half of Independent International Films. And I've heard these stories before, but I really love Sam Sherman is a fan. He worked for Famous Monsters. Then he went on to form a drive-in movie company with Al Adamson called Independent International. He was head of marketing for a company called Hemisphere Pictures. And he's just one of those guys that recognizes the idea that, there are fans of this stuff. He's a fan. So, his stories are great and his recollection is great. And I'm glad he put it all to paper. And my friend Rob Pyatt sent me this book as a gift and, in a trade for a couple of issues of Toy Ventures. And I'm glad he did. I've really enjoyed it. And the big print, especially, very helpful for me right now. I can't see shit. How about you?
And the pages to cut out in color. Those are fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My other one, and I'm only a couple of chapters into this, but it is the first, I guess you'd say, official sequel to Buckaroo Banzai. It's called Buckaroo Banzai Against the World Crime League, which was I believe the name in the end credits.
It was, yeah. Which I always thought was a parody of the Doc Savage. The end of the Doc Savage movie, there's a very similar thing, Doc Savage versus the World Crime League.
It would not surprise me in the least if that's exactly where the idea came from. That I'm sure I've talked about it enough. I love Buckaroo Banzai. It is its own thing. It is insane. It's better every time I see it. It's the further away you get, the more I go, I can't believe anybody gave them money to make this thing and they thought there was a possibility this was going to lead to more, because
there's a friggin' Marvel comic.
There's a Marvel comic. There's actually a collectible book that's come out too, that's like documents every collectible that was ever made, every bit of art around the world that promoted the VHS and whatever. I mean, it's got a following, but it's a very small following. But this is written by Earl Mac Rauch, whatever you say his name, who wrote the original screenplay. And when you look this guy up, like, not a lot of credits in the last 30 some years. But what was the other thing he wrote prior to Buckaroo Banzai? It was something significant. I'm just thinking of it. It was like a heist picture, or like an action thing. I forget what it was, but he hasn't done much, and so it's already a little, dense. Like the prose is very. It's a thick book, but I'm looking forward to getting further into it, because it's like the official next film, next story of these characters. So
I look forward to the filming of that.
Can't believe, in one of those can't believe it exists moments, it's like, wow, there's actually, after all this time, another book, another story has come out. So that's one of the other ones.
Very cool. I didn't know that happened. The final book that I have for 2021, and I want to get the title, is The Toys of Masters of the Universe by our friend Danny Erdley.
Now, may I just jump in before we go there, because I'm sure there's a story to this. If you could knock me down with a feather to think that this would be something that would interest you from the off, not because you dislike these things, but because it's just not really, has never really been in your sort of wheelhouse of interest. But I think you're kind of interested in some of the way that I am in the story behind it, and like how it built up and stuff. But is that what sort of drew you to it, or what sort of what was it that's kind of brought you to it?
I like you, I think we kind of exited the toy realm with Masters of the Universe, and I don't particularly like seeing all the stuff that I don't ever need to see a Skeletor doll again or anything like that. But I'm fascinated, and I like good books. I'm otaku that way. I really like toy books, and Masters of the Universe, it was one of the last great graceful toy lines where they had art on the boxes, and things like that. And I like Dan a lot, and I kept reading reviews for his book. And while I have no, I have no collection of He-Man, I like looking at toys. And this is a great.
I like I like them. I like that documentary. I thought was really well done, and it was because the concept of the toy line, the artists they got, even the artists they got for the movie. Like Mobius did stuff. Like, I'm fascinated with all that stuff. Like, the toys.
Me too.
You know what I mean. But like the artistry that went into it, the conceptual stuff. I think that's what makes me curious. I don't have an interest in the line, but I can appreciate what it is, and the work. And
I think also working so hard on my last book, which had a lot of Masters of the Universe knockoffs in it, I became kind of intrigued, and I ordered this book because I had a credit on Amazon. And my God, you could kill a mountain lion with this book. It really is good value. It's well designed, and as a human being who designs books for a living, I can smell the work that went into this. And it's just, you got to give props. You got to sit there and go like, oh my God, how did they even, this would overwhelm me. And it's not my cup of tea, but I have books on a lot of toy lines that aren't my cup of tea, but because I just I enjoy looking at action figure lines. This is a wonderful look at the beginning and end of this, I guess, and the collector phases and that sort of thing. And
I have a morbid fascination with my buddy Justin lent me he's got this. I think he's got the big box set of all the He-Man, the original run, which includes these
I'm
bits
sorry.
of the what's it called, like the new and improved He-Man hour or whatever.
Oh yeah. It's funny. My wife was like, yeah.
Have you seen any of these?
Briefly in the early 90s. It was funny you say that because about 2 weeks ago, my wife was up way before me and she goes through the YouTube feed and she's like, I just saw something that said He-Man, but it wasn't He-Man.
It's
You know?
it's insane. Like this,
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by whoever sort of got this ball rolling to not only say we're going to revamp and do something completely different, not only conceptually, but design wise, but like the story and change everything, but the animation. It's like this weird slapstick anime hybrid thing that is just bonkers. It's completely bonkers. And I've only seen a couple of episodes, but I'm kind of fascinated with it. Like this failure, this thing that
You've seen a couple more episodes than me.
He gave me this DVD to watch, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't have. I just remember being in the store one time and seeing a box of the new something and just going, what happened here? Like what happened to that toy line? I thought it was still going.
Yeah, that was a really weird thing, and I'm not a He-Man aficionado. Like I know you weren't, but like I said, I'd buy a book. I buy good books on epic toy lines on principle, and damn it, they really delivered with that one.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Danny's a good guy.
Yeah, he's also just he's also a guy who walks his talk, and I really like the dude.
Yeah, he's a nice
guy.
All right, that's cool. Well, my last one is Paul McCartney, the lyrics, which is a $100 2-book set. I mean, it was like 50 or 60 on Amazon, whatever, but I think it went to #1, which you got to give props to that. Like, wow, this ginormous, talk about a set of books that could kill somebody. This thing weighs about 20 pounds, these 2 books. But it's, again, knowing everything about this person and this band, it's still illuminating, and it's as close as we'll ever get to an autobiography from this guy, from this songwriter, the greatest songwriter of all time. So that's been great to have. It's been a very Beatle fall, which I love. The box set, the Let It Be box set that came out with extra, discs and the book and everything else, and the Get Back book that came out, and then the documentary, and then McCartney's book, and so it's been an embarrassment of riches at this point. Those are my books, and then magazine-wise, I tend to get like Mojo and Uncut, Empire occasionally. Empire's gotten very thin. I feel like it's on its way out, which is sad because Q folded a couple years ago, and I bet Empire's going to fold, which is a shame. SFX I pick up now and again. That's still going. But the one thing I think you and I both pick up every month is Infinity. And
yeah, that's on my list. I only have 2 magazines on my list, and Infinity's one of those. I don't pick it up every month because it doesn't come to Canada in that kind of frequency. It seems to come every other month to my local Indigo.
Did you get the one with the about the Dinky toys?
No, I didn't.
4-page thing. Oh my God! Like every time, just even if there's 10 stories in it, and 2 of them are in my wheelhouse, there's still at least 2 stories that I'm like.
Oh, there's times where I look at that and I'm like, get out of my head, Infinity magazine. The other one I really, really want to promote is Shock Cinema.
I thought it was going to be Gent. But
Gent? Well, I'm more of a Jugs guy, even though they stopped making that like 14 years ago. But I never tired of the joke. I realized that like years ago that I was telling people, oh, I love Jugs magazine, and like they hadn't made that in forever.
That's how you wire your stereo. It's through an article.
What's that?
That's how you learn to wire your stereo up. It was an article in Jugs, I think.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, no, there's a lot of helpful article in Jugs magazine. There's a lot of child rearing,
So tell us about
I
Shock Cinema. Are they like are they in trouble?
no, they're actually they're one of my inspirations. There's two inspirations for Toy Ventures magazines, and Shock Cinema and Infinity were them, where they just said things are great. Like I was worried because you want to support them because you don't want them to go down like Cat Fancy did. I mean, my God.
Nobody wants Nobody wants
No, and it turns out that Shock Cinema guy, Daniel, I can't remember his name, Pulaski, he did this post saying, we're fine. We're doing great. And niche magazines are doing really well. And that those two magazines, Infinity and Shock Cinema, inspired Toy Ventures. And I'm doing okay. I'm not doing Shock Cinema and Infinity okay, but I'm happy with how the direction we're going. And support your print magazines. Buy what you like. And I think we're going to close this out with Blu-rays and DVDs.
Shit, yeah. Okay, you go first.
I'll go into mine because I can't remember what I bought this year. And I think you're in the same boat, Jason, where we buy things, but we don't know if they were 10 years old. But yeah. I did buy one, and I can ramble on while you try and figure out one, from Vinegar Syndrome this month. And Vinegar Syndrome does amazing work, and you should support them. They're, one of my favorite labels next to Grindhouse Releasing and Severin. Oh my God, I love Severin. They released a movie called New York Ninja. Have you heard about this?
I'm going to say no, but you might have mentioned it before on the show.
I don't know. New York Ninja is a film they found in the, they call it the dumpster, but they found it like in a film company they bought the stock from. And it was an unfinished 1984 action film that they abandoned, I guess, probably ran out of money. Who knows? And it stars a guy by the name of John Liu. And the guys at Vinegar Syndrome immediately tried to reach out to him, and he's kind of a recluse now. And when they mentioned they would like to actually release this film, the only words they got back was good luck. The film had no soundtrack. It had no script. So they not only had to create all the dialogue, they had to figure out what all this footage was for. Had this film, I've watched it now, and I was talking to the folks in Pod Stallions about this. Had this been released in the 80s, we'd be talking about this, because it is not a good film. I want to put that out right there.
Before I even got a chance to go, is it any? That's a lot of work.
No, it's a terrible movie. I think we'd all be talking about it in like, this is an epic piece of shit. But what they've done here is truly noteworthy. They actually did make something out of this. They took those elements and, they didn't try to lampoon it. They didn't try to make it a joke. They seriously tried to make a film. And, even the soundtrack is not over the top. The soundtrack is very appropriate. And I applaud them for not trying to mock it. You know what I mean? Like, to make it over the top.
Is there an element to this that's like, because this sounds like imagine if there was like a lost David Carradine movie from the early 80s or that had a screenplay by John Sayles or whatever, but the footage is, this sounds like the kind of thing that has is there something inherent in it, or someone involved, or someone on screen that's like, oh, and it's got so and so's final performance? Like how did this?
No, there's
how did this come
nobody
to?
knows the actors in it other than the lead, um, because there's no credit listings.
Jesus.
But I can tell you right now, like, even though I know the film had no sound, you can see that the acting is like on 11. You know what I mean? Like it is like, oh yeah, like, and who knows what this was supposed to be? It's not a good film. I'll just say that, because like you know me, I love martial arts cinema,
Yeah.
and John Liu, absolutely fantastic martial artist, terrible director. Because you know, it's got that thing. Pardon me?
He forgot to turn the sound on. He forgot to record some audio.
Well, no, they lost the soundtrack. But the thing is that he definitely knows what he's doing. Except that, you know, action needs to be shot in a certain way. You just can't like nail the camera to the floor and watch the New York Ninja take out a gang of people. You need to do tight close-ups. Otherwise, half the people in the fight scene are just standing there in like this weird non-player character stance where they're, you know what I mean? Like they're coming one at a time at him, which is ridiculous. And also, he's the world's worst ninja, because I'm pretty sure ninjas are supposed to be kind of like secretive, and he just keeps like walking into the screen and people point guns at him, and then they forget they have the guns in their hands. Like, there's no logic to the film, and
so it's more the effort of it. Like Vinegar Syndrome went out, found this thing that was incomplete, that never got released, etc., and the care they took in putting it out.
It's absolutely fantastic what they did with this. Like, I really do applaud them. Is it the next Miami Connection? No, because there's been too much care and consideration put into it. Like, where, you know, like they didn't, and I applaud them for that, because they didn't try to like lampoon it or make fun of it. They just went, let's try and make it as authentic as we can. And I got to tell you, we'd be talking about this film right now, but we'd be like, remember that piece of crap? And like, there's stuff in this film that makes no sense. There's a guy who kills people with plutonium, and like, I don't know what's going on. And
that happened to a friend of mine, actually. That can happen.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
No, it's funny because our pal Ned Hastings.
I love that.
Very, very kindly sent me a gift for Christmas, and he got me Vinegar and Oil. Vinegar Syndrome put out Paul Morrissey's Flesh for Frankenstein.
Oh, you watched that? Eh?
A 2-disc set, and the second disc is 3D. It comes with 3D glasses, and you can watch it in 3D.
Neat.
I haven't tried yet, but the packaging is great, because it's got, you know, it's a box with like stitches across the front, and the packaging is wonderful. I haven't gotten to the extras yet, but I can't wait to dive into those. I picked up, you know, I was really getting turned on by Severin, you know, here and there on principle.
I love Severin films.
Then I got that Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, like the Euro trash world of Christopher Lee. That box set, and it is dire. It is just some of the worst shit you've ever seen in this thing. I was very excited for it, because it was like, oh, even if it's, you know, if it's like, he's barely in. Like, I think there's 5 films. His screen time is like 12 minutes in the whole thing. And then there's that anthology series that he did the open and close for in an afternoon with his big porn tash. This must have been like 74, 75. He's just sitting in a chair doing the open and close of these things. And of course, and they're I think it was maybe German. Maybe this was made in Germany, and so everything is dubbed. And it just was like, oh my God, it comes with a book that talks about his life. But it's just, sometimes. So I was gonna get the folk horror set that they put out. There's gonna come out.
Oh, the yokai.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. And I'm like, you know what? I sometimes things are just best to go. Yes, I'll get to it eventually. Like there's like 10 or 12 or 15 films in it. Like 3 or 4 of them I'd seen, and some of them are just like you're not gonna really like. There's on principle you go, what a great box set, what a great idea. The folk horror thing. It's a very British vibe. They had Field in England was in there, which is a great movie. Couple others, but I just knew that like some of this is just going to be so bad and so slapdash, and I'm not going to drop. It was like $170, I think, for that box set. I'm like, not doing this. So I'm very picky these days with Arrow stuff. I love, and what's the other one? Intercept. That's not right. Is it Arrow and Intercept or something?
Arrow is I don't know the Intercept one.
Yeah, I'm getting the name wrong, but they do great extras and packaging and everything. But if I had to pick one, I would say back to Arrow. The David Lynch 1984 Dune came out in a box set in several different incarnations. One of them has like a steel book. And, each one comes with a poster or a double-sided poster or, lobby cards and everything else. And I've got it in several formats already, but it's just nice to see something that was so maligned for so long. Again, a chunk of the population has come around to the merits of this thing. In fact, Jim Cummings, guy who did Thunder Road and Wolf of Snow Hollow, and this new one that the beta test that's terrific that came out, writer director, and he's in these films. I heard him be interviewed. First off, he said his favorite movie of all time is The Burbs, which I just love.
Great movie.
Is his favorite movie. He goes, I saw that movie multiple times when it was out. I've owned it in every format. I love that movie. I'm like, yeah, that's cool to admit.
I showed that to my daughter not long ago.
Underrated movie, very underrated movie.
It's a great movie.
And maybe it was. But he talked about The Burbs, but David Lowery, who did The Green Knight and The Old Man and the Gun and Ghost Story and things like that, he was talking about how much he loved Lynch's Dune because he said, he couldn't wait to see the new one, which hadn't come out yet, but he loved the original because of the design and the aesthetic and the guts that it took and the craziness and everything else. So anyway, it's just cool to see this movie finally get like some first class treatment, which is very much like Flash Gordon got last year around the same time. For the anniversary, they put out, multiple formats, in the UK and here and a Best Buy exclusive and all this stuff for these things that nobody cared about for so long. It's nice to see some care taken. So that was my number one, probably.
Cheers to that.
Cheers. Well, there you go.
I think that's a great way to end the year. And, Happy New Year, everybody. We're really excited about 2022.
Let's all
we're all looking forward to our Soylent Green. I don't know if you know that, but that's actually the year Soylent Green set in. And thank you for all your wonderful support this year. It's just been fabulous, and it's the happiest parts of our day is how many people have really dug this podcast. I think I speak for Jason and myself, and absolutely. I love your feedback. I really, really do. And
we do. I pay attention to all the comments and love the feedback on each of these, and keep it coming because it's we dig it, and it lets us know like, oh, someone's listening. There's an audience out there,
and we have a tribe, and
exactly.
Really appreciate that. You have
More,
no idea how, in this day and age, and after this many years, how great that is for us.
and we got episode 100 is right around the corner, and we'll hopefully have some special things planned, including a
Here's
telethon.
hoping. Yeah.
Yeah, probably a live telethon fundraiser.
Oh God, yes,
We might
please.
get a child trapped in a well and see if we can raise funds to get the kid out. That could be a fun live thing to do.
That would be great. I'm gonna sing.
I was gonna sing.
Mhm.
Yeah, good
And
stuff.
Michael Bolton will be available. This will be wonderful. Thanks, guys and gals, and Happy New Year. And we will see you in 2022. Join us in the Pod Stallions Facebook group, or, well, I think that's the only place you can really join us. But, let's.
Join us wherever you can find us.
Yeah, I got to go walk my dog.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
folks.
Happy New Year. Everybody stay safe. Hang in there. The best, I think,
And
is
be
yet to
chill.
come.
Yeah.
Be
Thank you
good,
for being
everybody.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Take care.
Good stuff. Okay. Nice job.